Donald Trump is someone who appears hundreds of times in the Epstein files. Even though he claims that he stopped speaking to Jeffrey Epstein around 2004 to 2007, somewhere in that time frame, it seems like he cannot get the exact date right, which is obviously suspicious. Trump is referred to kicking Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago around 2007, claiming that Jeffrey was acting inappropriately towards a club member's teenage daughter, and he kind of had no choice but to throw him out. And he claims that's where their friendship stopped. However, this story changes many times and does not have any evidence to corroborate it. Now that these files have released, I would say it's pretty definitive, allegedly, proof that Trump and Epstein were definitely still in contact after his 2008 conviction. Mind you, these files have been heavily redacted. Illegally, by the way, by the DOJ. So we really don't know what other information that's incriminating towards Trump or other people, other powerful politicians or rich people in general, we don't know, or Hollywood elites in general. So one email that I find to be really interesting that was released in this drop of Epstein files was the FBI email sent July 22nd, 2025 by the FBI with the subject names in JE files. It said positive hit cases, and then asterisk highlighted contains salacious information. And the highlighted names included Donald Trump, the first one, which in parentheses they wrote, one identified victim claimed abuse by Trump but ultimately refused to cooperate. Prince Andrew, Jess Staley, Leon Black, Glenn Dubin, and Harvey Weinstein. He basically said, I was told by some very important people that not only does it, as in the release of these 3 million files, absolve me, it's the opposite of what people are saying, the radical left. The files absolutely do not absolve Donald Trump from anything. There are thousands of redactions in those files. You cannot definitively say that Donald Trump is not involved in them. There are 2.5 to 3 million more documents to be released in the Epstein files that Trump's Department of Justice are refusing to release, which again, illegally they're doing this. So many lawmakers have accused Trump administration of conducting a cover-up, that anyone should be able to understand this. If Trump was not guilty of anything and the Epstein files would have absolved him, wouldn't he want them released then? Wouldn't he want that to be all released unredacted? But that's not what's happening. They're redacting things. They're refusing to release several documents illegally. What is proven by this latest drop is that Donald Trump was lying about the dissolution of him and Jeffrey Epstein's friendship, and that they were definitely friends for a lot longer than he said, and past his 2008 conviction. We're gonna read some emails where Trump really fucked up. Here is on July 29th of 2025. He basically elaborated on the Virginia Giuffre case. He, at this point, claimed that the reason him and Epstein weren't friends anymore was because he was poaching the workers at Mar-a-Lago and bringing them to work for Jeffrey Epstein, and Trump didn't like that, so that's why he stopped being friends with him, which doesn't make sense. But on July 29th, 2025, Trump elaborated specifically about Virginia Giuffre, claiming that she worked at the spa at Mar-a-Lago before Jeffrey Epstein stole her. So in 2009, Virginia claimed that Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her while she was a minor working at Mar-a-Lago, and that's how she got involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Virginia's family responded to this July 29th comment, basically saying that his latest accounts of admitting that he knew that Jeffrey Epstein poached Virginia from the Mar-a-Lago spa when she was a child. This, to the family of Virginia Giuffre, raises a lot of questions about the president's prior knowledge of Epstein's criminal wrongdoing. Virginia worked at Mar-a-Lago in the year 2000, which is several years before him and Epstein stopped being friends. So he knew what was happening, allegedly. And then in 2002, that was when he said, I've known Jeff for 15 years. He's a terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. Epstein emailed in 2011 after Virginia Giuffre's story appeared in the media. He emailed saying, before I call Trump with regard Virginia, are there any other alternatives? Which again, kind of dismisses the idea that him and Trump were no longer friends or in contact after 2008. Epstein also emailed Ghislaine Maxwell in 2011 saying, quote, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim, that was redacted, but now we know it's Virginia Giuffre, spent hours at my house with him and he has never once been mentioned. police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. So in 2015, and this was obviously when Trump had begun running for president, journalist Michael Wolff wrote to Jeffrey Epstein telling him that CNN was planning to ask Trump about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And Jeffrey Epstein responded to this email saying, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Which at this point, they're not supposed to be friends. So why the hell would Trump let Epstein like create an answer for him that would be benefiting Jeffrey? It doesn't even make sense to like entertain it, because what do you mean? However, Michael Wolff responded saying, quote, I think you should let him hang himself, which is obviously ironic now. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt, of course. It is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. I think this email right here is very, very important because it points out an interesting conspiracy theory. Well, first of all, it kind of makes it seem like obviously Trump and Epstein are still on good terms, but either way, it seems like it's an option to both use each other for their own benefits. And I think what's interesting here is obviously Trump did go the route of being like, I've never been to the house, I've never been on the plane. And what Michael Wolff says about generating a debt for Trump to owe Epstein, I just think it's an interesting concept because obviously in 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and then he allegedly took his own life in his cell. A lot of people don't believe that he did that. This is a full-on conspiracy theory, but I think it's an interesting thought. But that what if Donald Trump owed Jeffrey Epstein for not exposing him and not saying that, you know, he was involved in this or giving proof of his involvement? That potentially Trump had Epstein either murdered, because at this point Epstein was in jail and he could have and was going to give depositions and talk about people who were involved in this as well, possibly implicating Trump. Or people kind of go the other conspiracy route, which is that Epstein's still alive and that Trump basically like helped him fake his death. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of these conspiracy theories. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.